Hey everyone, I am Katherine Linton, the co-founder of Venus, a new app and platform for lesbian, bisexual, and queer women, non-binary, trans, lesbian, inclusive. And I am so honored to be joined today by Kelly Moffat. She is the co-founder of Kirrin Finch. And I would tell you what Kirrin Finch is or the origin story, but I'm actually wanting to ask Kelly herself because the way you guys describe it in your website, I love your website and I love the origin story and all of it. So I actually was usually I do a little bio, but I decided I was like I actually want Kelly's to kind of in her own words. So tell me the or like the the synopsis version of the origin story of Finch and what is Kirrin Finch?
Cool. Well, first of all, Catherine, thank you so much for having me today. I'm super excited about what you and the Venus team are up to. Got a chance to see some of it live in action at the kickoff, and really excited to see where it goes. So Kirrin Finch is a brand that was launched in 2015. We make menswear-inspired apparel for women, trans, and non-binary folks. Basically, we got tired of walking into the men's section saying we really like those styles. They don't fit our bodies. And so what can we do to fix that? And so primarily, we are an e-com company, so we service people from all over the world. One of the things that we're really proud about is that we have a real commitment to size inclusivity as well. So we run our sizing 0 to 28 and extra small through 5XL in many of our offerings. And so we're based out of Brooklyn. So that's a little bit about us.
And what is the story? Again, your storytelling is so great on KirrinFinch.com, right? KirrinFinch.com. I'm just going to say that a few times throughout this broadcast because I do want everybody, because I am one of those people that for decades has had to veer over to the men's department to find clothing for myself. So I'm in love with this company, KirrinFinch.com. So what is the story behind the name Kirrin Finch?
Yeah, so actually, it is named after two iconic tomboys in literature. For those of us U.S.-based, Scout Finch from To Kill a Mockingbird, many of us grew up, reading that. And then there was a UK-based novel series called The Famous Five, and there was a character, Georgina Kirrin, who was that embodiment of the tomboy spirit. And so we kind of combined those two together and have created the idea and the concept of what that feel is when you were reading that book and you said, oh wow, I get it, that's me. And so really trying to bring that to life.
Inner tomboy.
Yes.
I was such a tomboy.
Same.
My poor mom. She tried with the dresses. She tried. It just did not work out for her until she accepted. And then Ellen came along and Ellen started wearing suits and she was like, oh, that's in fashion.
It just goes to show you how important it is that we have role models that you can point to sometimes, both for the person and also for society. That's, you have people that are breaking boundaries and you're saying, okay, I see myself. Or for that parental acceptance, it's like, oh, it's not just my kid or what that feels like.
Right. Yeah. Visibility matters on every level. You're right. And when you just said for families too, it's not just for us, it's for society as a whole. I'd love to know a little bit about your backstory. You didn't come from fashion. You didn't study fashion. So I just love that you didn't, and I'd love to hear how you came to this, bring us back to what you were doing, what you studied, and how this all came about.
Yeah, so certainly circuitous at best. My background is actually in education. I was an elementary school teacher and actually have a degree in library science. So, those characters in literature didn't just pop out of nowhere.
Now I get it.
There you go. But so, there's a lot of things that the reality is from a management of a company perspective. There are certainly things that I learned in my career as a teacher that are transferable skills today. But, all of that, hey, I want to know how to make a garment and all of that, we literally had no idea what we were doing, but we knew that there was a problem to be solved, right? And so much of it, of what I think is a strong business idea, is when you have that unmet need, and whether you know how to solve it or not, oftentimes there's a knowledge gap between what the solution is. And so for us, it was like, hey, we know this really sucks. We walk into the little boy section, or we walk into the men's section, and we want to like look like that. We want those clothes that fit us, but they don't exist for us. And so how do we solve for that? And so, in 2014, stepped away from my job with my business partner. And we said, we are going to solve this problem. And 10 years later, here we are.
How do you, I mean, and I just want to sort of ask you this, because I think there's so many people, myself included, even with this app. I mean, I was a documentary filmmaker for years and years and years, right? For over 30 years. Was it scary to do that pivot, and what does it take to just to pivot to a whole new industry and a whole new passion, and create a company?
I mean, I think no matter what it is in life, pivoting is scary. So it could be pivoting from hey, I want to be healthier and go and run a marathon and exercise more. Pivoting for a career, obviously there's economic impacts and all of those types of things. Pivoting in a relationship, right? So change is scary, right? And it's I think many times the unknown. So it's even scarier or anxiety provoking, or all of those things, when you really don't even know as much. For me, right, I didn't know how to make these garments. I just knew that I wanted to help solve the problem. And so I think that there's often, though, the biggest rewards when you do those big pivots, if they work out.
Yeah, if they work.
Yeah. Minor detail, but
detail. Yes.
I think human nature, though, and I am certainly a creature of habit in many ways also, is that okay, if something doesn't work out, how do we make ourselves then continue to pivot? Because sometimes you have to pivot multiple times.
Yes. And yeah, I love that. And just the passion, and I guess, you have to hammer at it, know, and you have to believe, and find the right talent.
Totally.
Right? It's to solve. You better surround yourself with the right talent to help.
Yeah,
solve that.
I think one of the things that I feel is helpful now, right? So in the very beginning, right, I was trying to wear every single hat, right? That's the reality of an entrepreneur, right? As you're starting Venus, even if you have, one or two partners that you're doing this adventure with, there's just lots of different things that you don't know. How do you start a business entity? How do you file sales tax? All these little things that are huge things that you literally often have no knowledge about unless you've already started a company. And so there's a lot of that. And then on top of that, actually solve the thing that you said you were going to solve for, right? That little minor thing. So I think there's a lot of that in the beginning of the creation of a new business that is nuanced to pivoting in life.
Right. I'm curious, growing up for you, as you came into your own authentic self, did your fashion change? How did you express yourself fashion-wise? I mean, we all went through our journeys of finally finding this self. The clothes mean a lot.
Totally. Yeah. No, it sounds like you and your mom had similar battles that I had with my own. For me, the compromise was that on Wednesdays, it was library day, and I would wear a dress that day, but all the other days I got to wear what I wanted, right? So we were meeting each other in the middle, my 5-year-old version of myself. Now I have 8-year-old twins, and I recognize how challenging it is to just even get out the door, forget alone a line on gender identity. But I think to build on what you said, right? Clothes are so important. Why? Because they serve as they can serve as a armor. You're walking into a situation where oh wow, I don't know if this is a safe space, or I don't know how people are going to perceive me, right? So I'm going to show you who I am by the clothes that I'm wearing. So there's that. And then there's also like, hey, y'all, I want to celebrate me and what makes me feel good and how I want my persona to match my inside to my outside. And so that is why it is so important that when you go into that store, one, that it like actually fits you, because that's actually a lot of the problem. It's not that the clothes don't exist, right? Like that, and that is what we were trying to solve for. Like I could go into J. Crew or Paul Smith or Ben Sherman or, Todd Snyder, whatever, right? Like these stores, and I'm like, oh, I like that. But when I put it on, it's not meant for my hips. It's not meant for my chest. And all of those things is for us, we're taking those into consideration.
Right. And I guess this is sort of similar to a little bit of what you were just talking about. Is fashion more about self-expression or social signaling to you?
Oh, I think it's
both,
I think
right?
it's both. Yeah, certainly. Like, so there's queer signaling, there's, all of that, right? Like everything from the carabiner that sits on my belt loop, which we do have Kirrin Finch carabiners, so check them out. So then you're really gay, right? Like, but, yeah. You want people, like when I was a teacher, right? You bring up Ellen. There was a time, and so I was in an elementary school. So and this was now, upwards of when I first started 18, 19 years ago, right? So it was a different time. So you can do the math. But like, when, or don't.
We don't do the math anymore, Kelly.
Yeah.
We don't do the math. Yeah.
But like, I would have students say to me, oh, you look like Ellen. Now, I do not look like Ellen. I mean,
I got that all the time.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Okay. So like, we're both white and we both look really queer. That's about it. Right.
That's
like,
about it.
Yeah. But for them, that was the language that they had to use for the clothes that I wore or whatnot. But like, then you think about like, oh, before Ellen or before those media representations, when people didn't have anybody to turn to, so that they could say, instead of being like, oh, are you a homosexual? They're like, oh, are you that person? And so I think that that's like, language is also a big part of it, is like, how are we as a society helping people to like destigmatize that and also give them the tools and power within language to say, because like that's another part, like clothing is super important to our community, but also the words that we use to like describe ourselves and those types of things.
Oh my God. I mean, it was the change from being yelled dyke down the street to, yo, do the Ellen.
Right.
I mean, I'm not kidding. It changed how people looked at me. They liked her. They thought she was funny. So I mean, it really, like, you don't know, you don't realize the power, and I imagine that for any minority, any person of color, anytime you are represented in popular culture and you see yourself and there is somebody that people can refer back to that they like, it's like suddenly that's, for me, that was an incredible thing. Suddenly, I said the clothes I was wearing was okay.
Yeah, but let's not negate the fact that she was canceled, right? She lost her show, and there was like a hiatus. Like society had to catch up, right? And sometimes we have those moments, and like just because we validated her today, like society was cruel. And but like kudos on her. Like, Ellen is like has a somewhat complicated public persona.
Right.
Let's just talk about the fact that like give kudos to the fact that you came back after like literally so much hate and all of that. And so just goes to show, like, sometimes like the world may not be ready for you, but that's not your fault. The world can catch up and should.
Right. One step forward, two steps back, one step forward. I mean, that's we've been here so many times.
Yeah.
So, along that vein, do you think society is becoming more accepting of gender fluid fashion, for example? From your perspective now in what you're doing, because what you're doing is incredible. Is everybody else catching up to you?
I think it's a society is like in a really weird spot right now, right? Where you have, this like shift of conservative values that you're suddenly seeing within the kind of like political sphere, and like how does that play out within kind of a macro level? So like and what you see from like donors to like LGBTQ nonprofits, like, or just like nonprofits in general, right? Like, so like we're seeing this in the social sphere, and then we're also seeing like, wow, this week, like, you know, the Supreme Court saying like, no, like marriage, we're not talking, and we're not touching marriage equality, and like 65% of Americans are pro-gay marriage. And so like I think that like to the point of sometimes there's, you know, one step forward, two steps back, sometimes there's two steps forwards, one step back, like, you know, progress is not linear.
No.
And so but it's painful when you're in it.
Yeah. I mean, it was, you know, it's just speaking to somebody, it's like you get on Tuesday, you get the marriage decision. On the previous Friday, you get the passport decision for trans people, you know, I mean, just attacking left and right trans people. So it's like, you know, we have, so in terms of gender, you know, I think we've backslid to the 1950s of the anti-woman, anti-trans, you know, sexism run riot. And so I can imagine that, you know, especially with something like your brand, where there is somebody wearing a, you know, who may have like breasts or wearing a men's suit out. I mean, that in this climate, that's, to me, that's almost an act of rebellion. I don't, you know, but it's also can be scary.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think that like for different customers of ours, there's different levels of like what that means to them, right? For some of them, it's like, hey, I wear suits every day. This is how I'm going to present myself. And like, you know, they've got more Kirrin Finch suits in their closet than I do. And then there's the human that's like, hey, I'm getting married. I want to present myself authentically in front of my friends and families that love me. And I don't know how, like, to like, I've never worn a suit before, right? So you've got like those two like very different, but like it's still an act of rebellion and authentic representation. And that is, I think, where it comes down to like the touch point there. For someone it might be an act of rebellion, someone it might just be like, this is actually just what makes me feel good. And so for us, it's meeting our customers where they are, however they present, wherever they are in their journey, and making sure that they feel affirmed when they come to us. So things like when many of us have walked into the men's section and like get the, oh, excuse me, like the women's section is over there. Well, yeah, if I was looking for that, I would have walked over to it because I have eyes. Thank you very much. Like, just as you are scanning me, I am scanning the clothes, and look at how I'm presenting. So there's like that. So I think society as a whole, there's a lot more places where there's flexibility. And my hope is that we continue to come back to that upswing of allowing for folks to present themselves more authentically, to live their lives more authentically, to love louder, to like feel more safe. But I think that unfortunately what we're seeing is like all throughout time, right? There's always a scapegoat. And so like that is, the trans community is bearing this is not like the first time that the trans community has borne the brunt of it, but they are really, you know, that is truly where we're looking at that right now. And from in the political sphere in a way that didn't exist before. It was more of the social sphere.
Right. And real clamping down on gender roles. I mean, it's funny, you just mentioned, like, just about a month ago, I went into Untuck It, and I'm wearing this shirt, and I walked up to the men's shirts, and they said, there's women's dresses in the back. And I said, I would rather be caught dead than walk into the back and put on a dress. I'm actually looking at these shirts. And they just sort of stopped. It's like blank face. It's like, you know, and it's like, I should, you know, I'm aware, you know, and how many times, like you said, how many times do I have to tell you, I know where I am, you know, and yet, like you said, it's like, oh, too thinly cut, or the narrow cut, can't, you know, whatever. It's yes, and I think there's, and you know, the more I hear from this administration, when I come back down to the sexism and the you know, there are two genders. We are making this law, you know, which is like, talking about? I mean, it's almost like this like clamp down. There will be men and there will be women, like a last gasp, fight for traditional gender roles. So again, I see a company like yours in the, and anyone who's just out there, their own gender identity and expression of wearing it. That's where I think fashion is important. It's not frivolous.
No, and I think to your point of like, how do we have acts of resistance? It's both wearing that and also you feeling safe enough and proud enough in that moment when you were standing in that store to say, that's not for me. This is for me. And because there are going to be people, and unfortunately, that's just the reality that don't feel safe enough, or it is actively not safe enough in the places that they exist in to say that. And so the needle has to be pushed everywhere. And so making sure that we're raising our voice for the folks that can't. And that's what this is all about too.
Right. Exactly. I live in New York City. This was in Manhattan. There was a gay guy right behind him that started laughing. I mean, because he was the other shop person. So yes, there's many places you could not say that out loud, and yes, use our voices. And to that, I know you guys also support different, Kirrin Finch also gives back to the community. I'd love for you to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think ultimately we recognize that like we have a voice, right? And also we want to amplify the other voices that exist in our community, and that so we do it in a variety of different ways. We have kind of 3 pillars. One of them is amplifying voices, so things like we have a Dapper Scouts program where we highlight different folks in the community that are just really doing amazing things. Someone that connected the two of us, right? Like Kathy, folks like James Black, who's the CEO of the Trevor Project now. So like all these people that are, leaders in the community. And so, putting them in Kirrin Finch and then seeing how we can amplify the amazing work that they're doing. We're very lucky to be in New York City. So many of those, organizations are existing within our sphere in some capacity. But I also sit on, personally on the board for HRC. So it is something that I care about deeply for my life and also for us as a company. So, amplifying voices, giving our time. So like we have a relationship with Sage. So like our team goes and we'll like do their food pantry. And for example, we one of their the people that's involved in their community, Barbara, like walked in our fashion show with her, like her walker, and it says like Trailblazer and on the front, right? And so like, I think that so much of visibility is super important. And so those are 2 of the ways that we're really making sure that we are providing visibility. All of the models that we put onto our site are pretty much just people that we have connected within the community. And so how does that exist? It shows that like when you go to the site, you're like, oh, that's how I want to present myself. It's not like some random person that has been, hired from an agency that.
Oh yeah, I don't want to fly by that your mom talk more about that, because I think because that was actually something that's so impressive and unique, and so please talk about that a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, so for many of these folks, there's been like people that I've like met on the subway, or like we've met out at like the club, right? Or like, and like there is the like little bit of like sometimes it's like weird. I'm like, is this person think I'm like hitting on them, stalking them? Like what's happening? Like, hey,
want to be a model?
Yeah, exactly. Right, like this could come across. Yeah.
Oh, Kelly.
Like, yeah, easy. No, but like in all seriousness, so they're folks that we have met throughout our lives, our communities, people that sometimes have reached out to us, sometimes that we have reached out, and as our following and our network has grown, we also have a way for people to apply through. We have a link that people can apply to, and we regularly get applications of people that want people to be seen. Similar to, we have a Real Weddings program where people are like, hey, I just got married. I want to show the world how amazing it was. Like, and so we are amplifying those stories of love. And so people will literally send us their like wedding portfolio of images. And so we go through those and like showing off like, what does it look like when you have someone, and sometimes people are more masculine of center. Sometimes people are taking it and wearing heels, and like, you know, like just a suit or any garment is what you make of it. And I think that that's part of the nuance that like we're missing in society right now, is that like, these are clothes, right? It's the wearer that often also dictates how they present. Sure, the cut and all of that, obviously that makes an impact, but really it's like, how do you show up in that space? What is your energy?
Right. Oh my God, I love that. So, you know, I could talk to you for hours and hours and hours, but I'm gonna stop. I know you're busy. We are coming into the holiday season, which I imagine, you know, it starts to ramp up for you guys. So, so talk to me about where you are now. What are your goals going forward? And again, where can everybody find your fabulous line besides KirrinFinch.com?
Yeah, so we are definitely in the throes of holiday at the moment, which is both great and also a little bit, you know, when you're in your sprint of whatever it is that you do, it's obviously how can we get the most done, and reach out to the most people. And so, yeah, we, like many brands this time of year, are running sales and those types of things, but like also telling the story of who Kirrin Finch is, and making sure that like, you know, it's not lost as we get bigger, which is awesome. I think it's important for people to actually also know like how small and mighty we are also, right? You know, I think, which is great, right? Like we are trying our best to make sure that we're really polished and all of those things. But, you know, we're a team of 8 full-time people, and, you know, like depending on the time of year, kind of 6 to 8 part-time folks. So you're not looking at like 50 people in a corporate boardroom here, right? Like every order goes out from our, you know, our Brooklyn offices. You know, a lot of people wear a lot of different hats. And so, you know, we're working hard to make sure that we're getting people exactly what they need. And, you know, the people on our team are very connected to the community in their own heart and in their own lives. And so that's part of what makes us tick as a team.
Beautiful. Well, we are so, again, Kelly, thank you so much for taking the time for Venus. And anyone who wants to join Venus, go to welcometovenus.com. And Kelly, thank you again. This has been, I just love this conversation on just so many levels. And as somebody who needs some Kirrin Finch suits, you'll be hearing from me soon.
Excellent.
I know where I can get them.
I think one of the things that I would just say is like, thank you for creating community, right? Like, I think one of the things that is really hard for folks, right, especially if you're not in like, and it doesn't mean you shouldn't join Venus if you're based in New York, but like, especially for folks, like, how do you find others that are like-minded, or you're feeling like overwhelmed by all the swinging back and forth, the 2 steps forward, the 1 step back, all of that. Like, how do you make sure that you're connecting with amazing folks? And so thank you for building that for our community.
Oh, thank you. Right back at you.
You got this. I can't wait to see where it goes.
Lesbians, we get the job done.
With our carabiner on our hip.
With our carabiner on our hip. Exactly. All right. Well, thank you again. And hopefully you and I will see each other in real life soon.
Excellent. Take care.
All
Thanks
right.
for having me.